bus program, and it eventually grew into like 6, 7 buses, because he and Tamal Krishna Maharaj got together and became many buses distributing, crossing the country, distributing books and having kirtan, a mini sadhusanga on wheels. And the Radha Damodar were their main deity of that bus program. And when the bus program concluded, the deities went to New Vrindavan or Gitanagari, and there they are. They're very merciful deities, now no longer perambulatory, they just stay in one place on their altar in New Vrindavan, in Gitanagari. So we were there conducting seminars on Krishna and Braja, and kind of reorienting myself for this visit, because tomorrow evening, Wednesday evening, there's a class, a Zoom class with the devotees from China. And the devotees from China, I've been conducting Krishna in Dwarka, and now we'll circle back around at Krishna in Braja. So tomorrow evening, it's already determined because it's part of a sequence. It's Krishna's Lord Brahma stealing the cows and the calves and the cowherd boys for 2 hours in English Chinese. So with that in the center, that's tomorrow evening. I thought the pastime that's just before that, which we heard in Gitanagari, but nice to hear it again, is Krishna's killing the Aghasura demon. Aghasura, that's not, Agha, it means sin. And he's an asura, he's not a nice guy. Aghasura. Aghasura. And then tomorrow is, after that happens, Brahma steals the calves and cowherd boys, and then there's the part 2, that's going to be Friday evening. So that's the plan. Tonight, tomorrow, the next night. Tonight is decided by what was going to be tomorrow. Brahma stealing the calves and cowherd boys, that's an offense. It's like a triple offense. 1, stealing is an offense. 2, stealing Krishna's calves and cowherd boys, mega offense. And interrupting Krishna's pastimes, triple offense. He's in the doghouse. This very exalted person, Lord Brahma, and in a very exalted person, he's the head of our sampradaya. Our sampradaya is Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, or Gautanya. Madhva, Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya sampradaya. And we're going to be speaking about his offense. Now his offense was part of a pastime, so it's not the same as something that we might do like that. In other words, we're going to hear shortly about Krishna's Yogamaya potency, or Lila Shakti, and what's the relationship between Yogamaya and Lila Shakti. Now I don't know if there's newer people here in the audience. I'll assume that there's some. So even if you're not a newer person, you can hear it again. And if you're newer, then at least you'll understand what's this guy talking about. So what we're going to speak tomorrow and the day after, that's also Krishna's Yogamaya. That means that his Yogamaya means a potency by which Krishna's desire for pastimes with his devotees is facilitated. Yogamaya facilitates Krishna's pastimes. Like, for example, here's a for example. Krishna Janmashtami is also coming up, right? And when before Krishna appears, he he calls Yogamaya to come. And yes, some service and he gives her 3 services. The first of the 3 services is the 7th child of Devaki that's still in the womb of Devaki. Your service is transfer this child, who is Balaram, from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. So that she is facilitating Krishna. He has a script, and she's, the director of the script. She's just carrying out what he wants. Second, in addition, service number 2, you take birth as the child of Yashoda. That was the second service. And the third is, when you appear, that very same night is when I will appear, Krishna Janmashtami, the 8th day of the waning moon, and you'll appear also as the daughter of Yashoda. And I'm going to arrange for my father, Vasudeva, to transfer me from the prison house of Kamsa to the side of Yashoda's home, and there's going to be a switcheroo. He's going to place me by Yashoda's side, and you will be brought back by Vasudeva into the prison house of Kamsa. That's service number 2. Birth is the daughter of Yashoda. But then there's switcheroo. Number 3, when Kamsa comes, hearing that the 8th child of Devaki has been born, he'll come into the prison and try to kill you, like he did the first 6 children. But don't worry, he can't kill you because you're my Yogamaya potency. What's going to happen instead is you'll slip from his hand, and you'll let him know the 8th child of Devaki has been born, and then you'll have some service to do throughout the land. You'll be known by the names of Durga, etc., etc., etc. 3 services. So she, Yogamaya, has an essential role to play in Krishna's pastimes. And the topic that I discussed in Gita Nagari, which will be our topic now, and you see in the right-hand corner, that's Krishna's subduing the Aghasura demon. So, when I discussed this in Gita Nagari, I picked this topic because from reading the commentaries of our acharyas on this topic and many other of the topics, consistently our acharyas don't use the word Yogamaya. Consistently our acharyas use the term Lila Shakti. So, being I want to know kind of a person, I wanted to know what's the relationship between the 2 terms, Yogamaya, Lila Shakti. Is it this or is it that, or what's the relationship between these terminologies? So that's why the topic, mystery of Lila Shakti. And for this retreat that we just had in Gita Nagari, besides myself as a speaker on Krishna in Braja, there was a second speaker, and his name is Garuda. Garuda Prabhu is a PhD graduate from Harvard University Divinity School in the Sanskrit department. And we know each other from way back when, because when he was going to school at Harvard, I happened to be also based in Boston and through all of New England, so we developed a friendship from that time. That was a few years ago. And we haven't had so much association, but he's written some books on Krishna in Braj, and specifically on the topic of Krishna's rasa dance. And he explained the history of how that became his PhD major. It was more the decision of his advisor, PhD advisor at Harvard, to select that topic. And then he became his topic, and now he has written several books on that topic. He's a brilliant person. He's extremely funny. He had everybody in stitches the whole time. And eloquent and elegant and very learned, and he's a captivating speaker. So I turned to him to ask him, since he's a scholar in, Krishna's Lila, what's the relationship? And here's the reply that I got. The relationship between Yogamaya and Lila Shakti. That's the question. So what he did was he sent me 7 pages from his yet-to-be-published book, 7 pages, PDF digital files, which he said I'm not to share with anybody, so I have it in the room. The chapter heading is Yogamaya. So it's his exposition on what is Yogamaya. He didn't write so much about what is Lila Shakti, but in our conversation, his explanation is Lila Shakti is derived from Yogamaya. So in one sense, they're synonymous. Yogamaya, Lila Shakti, Yogamaya. In one sense, synonymous. But specifically, Lila Shakti is the Shakti through which Yogamaya acts. She's a person, and she's a Shakti of the Supreme Lord, part of the internal or Swarup Shakti of the Supreme Lord. Swa, Rupa. Rupa means form. Swarupa, his own form. And Swarup Shakti, the energies of himself in his personal feature. And she has a personal feature. And she has another expansion or derived from her is Lila Shakti, the potency by which Yogamaya does what Yogamaya does. What does Yogamaya do? So Yogamaya facilitates rasa. Rasa meaning loving exchange with his devotees. From Bhagavad Gita. You know the verse? Pritranaya sadhunam vinashaya shaduskritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So that's Bhagavad Gita, 3 things. To protect the sadhus, pritranaya sadhunam, that's 1. Vinashaya chaduskritam, to admonish or diminish the influence of the duskritis, Sukritis and Sukritis, and then Dharma samstha, to restore, to reestablish the principles of Dharma. Sambhavami yuge yuge, from age to age I appear. So one of the things that Krishna is doing is this first one. He's interacting with his devotees through the agency of Yogamaya, derived from Yogamaya as Lila Shakti, to facilitate rasa, loving exchange. It's Bhagavad Gita then expanded in the graduate study, Srimad Bhagavatam. That's what Krishna's Yogamaya or Lila Shakti do. They facilitate loving exchanges with his devotees. And sometimes Yogamaya, through the agency of Lila Shakti, conceals Krishna from, let's say, from demons, or not even demons, just from like the washerman. I like the pastime. Krishna was brought by Akrura from Vrindavan to Mathura on a plan of Kamsa to kill Krishna. Because he tried this and that and the other thing, decided he'd do it himself. But he wanted Krishna to come to him. So he sent Akrura to bring Krishna from Vrindavan to Mathura. And when he's entering Mathura, he's with the cowherd boys. And the cowherd boys have cowherd boy garments. And he wants them to enter with proper attire. So he sees a washerman, he makes a request on behalf of the cowherd boys. Please give some garments for these boys, because we were invited by Kamsa to come into the city and take part in a bow festival. That was, the supposed reason that he was coming. So the washerman insulted him. insulted the cowherd boys. As far as Krishna is concerned, even worse. What are you doing? You're asking for garments that belong to the king. If the king knew that you had spoken like this, he'd have your head. And, blah, 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 blah. So Krishna walked up to him very gently. It was a judo chop, but he just put his fingertips under his chin and then removed the speaking part of his body from the rest of his body. The man lost his head. As he threatened, the Kamsa would chop off your head. So he got his head chopped. And then Krishna distributed the... So, not being able to see Krishna has something to do with Yogamaya. It has something to do with Mahamaya. That's another, how the relationship between Mahamaya and Yogamaya is, as we heard already. She, Mahamaya, or Durga, or the energy of the Supreme, when in the material world as a reflection of that energy of the Supreme. That's what Mahamaya is. But the Mahamaya is derived from Yogamaya, as a reflection of Yogamaya. The material is a reflection of the spiritual. Material is a reflection of the spiritual. So part of the function of Yogamaya, which is a function of Lila Shakti, is persons can't recognize him. Even he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So by Yogamaya, the residents of Vrindavan don't recognize Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They think of him according to their rasa. He's my friend, he's my beloved, he's my son, he's my this and that. And that's by Yogamaya. So to inspire or facilitate loving exchange. It includes not recognizing him as the Supreme, and there's a pastime that we're about to hear where even Lord Balaram doesn't recognize, although he's omniscient, like Krishna is omniscient, by the influence of Yogamaya, he doesn't recognize the expansions of Krishna as each of the calves and each of the cowherd boys, they're expansions of Krishna. He doesn't recognize it by the influence of Yogamaya. And even before that, even Krishna becomes bewildered by the influence of Yogamaya. It make it sound like Yogamaya is up here and Krishna's down here, and he gets covered by a greater power. But it's not like that at all here. But these are arranged by Lila Shakti on behalf of Yogamaya to facilitate Krishna's pastimes. That's the topic. And then we're going to go into this little narration. Here's an example. This is Putana, the first demon that Krishna killed. After she displayed her demoness feature, before she displayed her demoness feature, she was a mystic personality that was an associate, friend of Kamsa, and Kamsa sent her. I don't know where this eighth child of Devaki is, but Narada Muni told me he's somewhere in Braja. Narada Muni told me he's somewhere in Braja, because Narada Muni wanted to accelerate the pastimes. He said, the eighth child of Devaki is in Braja. Go get him. Because he knows he can't kill Krishna. He wants to accelerate Krishna's pastimes. So Kamsa sent Putana. And the shape-changing Putana appeared in Braja looking for the eighth child of Devaki. She didn't know who that was. But when she found out that Yashoda had a child, she thought maybe the eighth child of Devaki is with her. So she manifested a goddess of fortune looking figure and started moving around Braja. And because she was so stunningly opulent and beautiful, and she appeared like the goddess of fortune, everyone gave her free entry into any place she wanted to go, right into the bedchamber little Krishna, 3-month-old child, in the crib, and she picked him up, and Mother just sort of watched him pick him up. She didn't stop because Goddess of Fortune looking person, and she started to breastfeed him. She did a little service, and then Krishna took the milk from her breast and sucked out her life, and she died. And there she is. Krishna's crawling around on her chest. And the residents of Vrindavan, you can see in the lower right part of the painting, they're panicked because when her body was finished, it was miles long and gigantic form and wailing and screaming. It was a big scene. Yogamaya facilitating Krishna's pastimes. Or a little bit older, in the background you see Balaram and Krishna's cowherd friends, the Gopas. And the Gopas and Balaram told Mother Yasoda Krishna's eating dirt. You know the pastime. So Mother, the affection, hearing that her son is eating dirt, she came to scold Krishna. You heard eating dirt? He said, they're liars. I haven't eaten dirt. He said, why would they lie? This is even your brother, your dearmost friend and brother, Balaram. They're liars. I didn't eat dirt. If you don't believe me, you can look inside my mouth. She thought, yes, I'll look inside his mouth. And when she looked inside his mouth, what did she see? She saw the inside of his mouth, but no dirt. Instead of the dirt, she saw the entire cosmic manifestation inside Krishna's mouth. And that's a lot. I mean, look up in the sky at night, that's not the entire cosmic manifestation. She saw the entire cosmic manifestation. No Hubble telescope, she just saw the whole thing. And along with the cosmic manifestation, the painting shows it nicely, she saw herself looking inside Krishna's mouth, She saw everything. And she thought, I'm seeing things. So Krishna, through his agency of his yoga maya potency, Krishna was facilitating, stimulating her motherly affection beyond boundaries of any normal mother. And then he withdrew that vision and he became a little child again. Like, human-like, divine, human-like. It's yogamaya being expanded and then withdrawn. Same, a little bit older, when Krishna's stealing butter. Mother Yasoda wants to bind Krishna, and Yogamaya once again. She wants to put the rope, you know the pastime, we spent a whole month singing the song. Many ropes. And how many ropes does Nanda Maharaj have in his cowshed? He has hundreds of thousands of cows, so he's got lots of ropes, and she put all the ropes together, tying this rope and that rope, and wouldn't go around his little waist. Hundreds of feet of rope wouldn't go around his little waist, like the size of her fist. And she was perplexed. Yogamaya, or Lila Shakti, acting on behalf of Yogamaya. And then Krishna withdrew that potency and he allowed her to tie him up. But that was part of yet another pastime. Once tied up and she went about her duties, he was dragging the grinding mortar here and there and knocked over 2 trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. And from those 2 trees came these 2 beings from the heavenly realm, now the Kuvera and Manigriva, who had been cursed to become trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, and he was liberating them. And then they offered their wonderful prayers. And all of this is enactment, and etc., etc. All of its pastimes are pastimes of Yogamaya. To facilitate loving exchange between Krishna and his devotees, and not allow the residents of Vrindavan to understand who he is, including this pastime, which we're going to hear more about tomorrow and the next day. This is Brahma Vimohan Lila, and you're all probably familiar with the Lila of Lord Brahma stealing the calves and cowherd boys, and then having a vision that he had, which we're going to hear about today, this evening, by exhibition of Krishna's Yogamaya, and then he offers some prayers. He's astonished. So we'll hear about it a little bit tonight and a little bit more tomorrow. So here's a nice verse from Rupa Goswami. I don't know if there's anybody here that needs an introduction to who is Rupa Goswami. If somebody does, Rupa Goswami is one of the primary associates of Lord Chaitanya, who was empowered by Lord Chaitanya to write about Krishna and to re-establish the places of pastimes of Krishna in Braja. So Rupa Goswami is super important personality in our disciplic succession. And he wrote a number of prayers, or stavas. And this is one of his prayers. It's a prayer, it's going to be sung. A nice little recording. You see that little horn at the bottom. I'm just waiting for me to click on the horn and you're going to hear someone singing the prayer that's at the top, both lines twice. You can follow along. And then the English translation of what he's writing. Basically, it's two things. This prayer, a prayer of expressing humility, the abject humility of an exalted devotee like Rupa, and feeling unqualified in comparison to the qualified personalities of previous ages who became perfect. And then the second half is honoring the mercy of Krishna, who gave mercy even to Aghasura, even to Lord Brahma, and to insignificant creatures. And therefore I'm feeling, Rupa saying, writing, I'm feeling some hope. A splash of some drops of his mercy are splashing on me, and I'm feeling some hope. As fallen, as lowly as I am, there's still hope for me. It's beautiful. The poetry is beautiful. Let's hear the singing. Hopefully it's going to work.
दुष्करं शृण्वतो मे प्राचीनानां भजनमतुलं दुष्करं शृण्वतो मे नैर्यासेन ज्वलति हृदयं भक्तिलेशालसस्य ज्वलति हृदयं भक्तिलेशालसस्य विश्वदृचीम् अगहर तवाकर्ण्यकारुण्यवीचीम् विश्वदृचीम् अगहर तवाकर्ण्यकारुण्यवीचीम् आशाबिन्दुक्षितमिदम् उपेत्यन्तरे हन्तशैत्यम् आशाबिन्दुक्षितमिदमुपेत्यन्तरे हन्तशैत्यम्.
I am very weak and lazy to do even the smallest devotional service. So when I hear of the peerless and difficult to perform services performed by great devotees in ancient times, my heart burns with despair. Like I'm not able, I'm not eligible, I'm not capable. Oh Lord, O killer of Aghasura, when I hear that your waves of mercy splash everyone, from the demigod Brahma down to the most insignificant creature, then my heart becomes sprinkled with a cooling drop of hope. Poetic expression of glorification and humility. Hope against hope. So there's the beginning section of, this is chapter 12 of Canto 10. Age of Krishna is 4 years, 4 months. He's still with calves. He's not graduated yet to cows because he's little. The cows are big. He negotiated with his father. He wanted to take care of the cows. But his father said, no, they're too big. You can take care of the calves. So they had a big festival, Gopuja. And then he began taking care of the calves. And the first half of chapter 12 is describing what did the cowherd boys do when taking care of the calves. Now, it's just one of those days of taking care of the calves, so the traditional activities that the cowherd boys did, and what do 4-month-old boys do? They play. And anything becomes play. Doesn't matter. They would swing from trees, they would play ball, they would do, imitate the forest animals. There's a whole long section of their activities. And the calves just tagged along because they wanted to be with Krishna and Krishna wanted to be with them. They didn't have to herd the calves, they just played. And there's this celebrated verse in chapter 12 that, if you've been around for a while, you've heard hundreds of times. The phrase Krita Punja Punja is a phrase that Sukadeva Goswami is narrating, and he kind of goes into a trance of meditation upon how fortunate are these cowherd boys. Many persons, they worship the Supreme Lord, but Krishna plays with these cowherd boys on an equal level. They wrestle, and Krishna will lose. They'd have the pastime. It comes in the previous chapter. The previous chapter is Vatsasura. Vatsasura is a calf. So it appears amongst the cows, or the calves, as if he's like one of the calves, and Krishna knows. And Krishna finishes him, twirls him around and throws him in the top of a tree. He's finished. So, but they're playing and 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 playing, and that's what little boys do. And they eat also. But on this particular day, in addition to Krita Punya Punja, just lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes of devotional service, to have the opportunity to play with the Supreme Lord on equal level. They don't recognize him as supreme, no awe and veneration, just our dearmost friend. As little boys have friendship with other little boys, but he's the supreme lovable friend amongst all the friends. On this particular day, unlike all the other days, Krishna does 2 things that are different. One, he asks Mother Yashoda, I want to take breakfast with me. So bring a little lunch bag, breakfast to go. Because he has a plan. He doesn't say what his plan is, he just says, instead of feeding me in the morning, because your mother's children can't go out without eating your breakfast, so send my breakfast with me in a little bag. And second is Balaram wasn't there. It was part of the strategy, the depiction, the portrayal of the pastime. Because if Balaram was there, when this scene comes, when there's this giant python lying on the path in the forest, the pastime wouldn't have worked if Balaram was there, so Balaram wasn't there. And there's a thing that happens later when Balaram's not there. But there's purposefully Balaram wasn't there, and they didn't have breakfast until later. It's part of the drama, part of the Lila. So that what the painting depicts is Krishna's holding up his hand as if gesturing, don't enter that mouth of that python. Because the boys playful. When they saw this giant python, they were thinking, maybe it's just an object of play for us in the forest of Vrindavan. So here's the translation of text 25. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, was situated as Antaryami, Super Soul, in the core of everyone's heart, heard the boys talking amongst themselves about the artificial python. So they were debating, is it really a python that wants to kill us? Because this guy was really big. I mean, according to the description, his jaw was on the ground and his upper mouth was touching the clouds in the sky. He's a big guy, really long, miles long, big guy. So is he wanting to kill us, or is he just a play place? So, unknown to them, it was actually Aghasura, a demon who had appeared as a python. Knowing this, Krishna wanted to forbid his associates to enter the demon's mouth. Now there's something that's important to know about Krishna. He is all-powerful. His powers are without limit. We have powers, but they're limited. And somebody else may have more powers, but they're limited. And there's only one person, the Supreme Person, that has unlimited powers. Achintya Shakti, inconceivable potency. Inconceivable. Is there a limit? There's no limit. The mind can't go around it, therefore it's inconceivable. Everything that we know has a limit. There's something that doesn't have a limit. That's the Supreme, no limit. Commentary, this is the next 8 slides are by Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami is the nephew of Rupa Goswami in Vrindavan. He wrote several commentaries. This is one. Knowing it was not only a python, but a Rakshasa named Agha, since he, Krishna, was in everyone's heart as Paramatma, was the inspiration for all things and was endowed with all powers, Bhagavan, he wanted to prevent them. Now, if Krishna wants something, it happens. He doesn't have to, he can lift Govardhan Hill without lifting Govardhan Hill. He can just levitate Govardhan Hill and it's flying in the sky. But he performed a pastime of lifting it. Who can lift a hill? What 7-year-old boy can, not just a rock from Govardhan Hill, but the hill, miles long hill. Who can do that? Achintya Shakti. But he can lift Govardhan Hill without lifting Govardhan Hill. That's the power of Krishna. There's a nice phrase. You'll hear the phrase again. The phrase is Satya Sankalpa Shakti. Shakti, you know, is potency. Satya Sankalpa is his Sankalpa, or his desire, his intention, is truth. Voila. His truth is, he wants, and that's it. It happens. That's absolute reality from the absolute person. So in one of Jiva Goswami's commentaries, called Priti Sandarbha, he makes a comparison between Lord Ramachandra having events happen that seem to bewilder Lord Ramachandra, although he's omniscient, all-powerful, supreme. Events happened that he became seemingly bewildered, as if he's one of us, this human-like feature, but he's not one of us. So he writes, this is Jiva Goswami's writing, when Ramachandra entered the forest, and Lakshmana was also absent, the worst of Rakshasas, Ravana, kidnapped Sita Devi, the daughter of king of Videha, just as a tiger seizes protected sheep when the shepherd is absent. So he kidnapped her. And after she was gone, Ramachandra then wandered in the forest with his brother Lakshmana, as if, that's the key phrase, as if very much distressed due to separation from his wife. Thus, he showed by his personal example the condition of a person attached to women. Now, unduly attached persons are going to undergo misery, no matter what. Unduly attached to anything, or to speak of women or anything, undue attachment, suffering, guaranteed. So he's teaching by example the human-like condition, although he's on another platform. He's not on the human platform, he's on the divine platform. Though internally Rama was controlled by prema, externally he announced the result for persons who freely associate with women by performing actions of indifference. Interesting way of describing this. He concludes, in manifesting pastimes where he, Ramachandra, or Krishna, the Supreme, is absorbed in human actions with intense prema for his devotees, sometimes the Lord shows bewilderment, contrary to his omniscience. And that's what happens in this pastime with the cowherd boys and the calves entering into the mouth of Aghasura. Krishna becomes as if bewildered. Some of you like Srimad Bhagavatam. If you don't, may you grow to like Srimad Bhagavatam. There's a nice verse in Canto 10, Chapter 2. You can look it up later. You like to look things up right away. Text 25. 10 to 25. 10 to 25. There's a commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, another one of our great acharyas. He explains there are three types of bewilderment. One is Maya bewilderment, another is Yogamaya bewilderment, and the third is Prema. It's a long, very subtle, fascinating description. So this is what Jiva Goswami is describing as this third, Prema type. He's not bewildered like we're bewildered. He is in this stage of extreme love for the cowherd boys. As they love him, he loves them. And because of his love for them, Lila Shakti, or Yogamaya, is arranging for him, Krishna, the supreme omniscient person, to experience against his will, as if against his will. But it's to facilitate his experience, a rasa in relation to his devotees in relation to him, and he in relation to his devotees. Relationship. That's love. It's a relationship. It's not a one-way, two-way. And it takes two for a relationship. For love, then it takes at least two or multiple. So prema is a type of bewilderment, or brings about a type of bewilderment. But that's a good quality, it's not a fault, since it bestows happiness, priti, to the wise, for his bewilderment supports the sweetness of his pastimes. He accepts this bewilderment by his will. He's still the Supreme. He doesn't stop being the Supreme, even though he becomes bewildered, which is a little puzzling, not so easy to understand, but it's very sweet. So stay with it and let's see what happens. In the meantime, while Krishna was considering how to stop them, the cowherd boys entered the mouth of the demon. The demon, however, did not swallow them. Why? For he was thinking of his own relatives who had been killed by Krishna and was just waiting for Krishna to enter his mouth. He, Aghasura, or Agha, had a brother and a sister. And his sister, Putana. His brother, Baka. And those two had an elder brother, Agha. So the younger brother, younger sister were killed by Krishna previously, and he wanted to get back. He wanted to do what Kamsa wanted him to do, kill Krishna, but kill the cowherd boys wasn't what Kamsa wanted. What Kamsa wanted was kill Krishna. He wanted to kill Krishna. So he didn't kill the cowherd boys. He didn't swallow them. Because pythons can, something really big, they can swallow something really big because they have ability to expand their body and get really big. And he's 12 miles long. And the cowherd boys aren't 12 miles long. He can easily swallow. But he didn't. Because he wanted to get back. He wanted to kill Krishna. So there's Krishna looking at the python. The jaw is still open. The cowherd boys entered the mouth of Aghasura, and Krishna's in this state of prema, of his love for the cowherd boys, and there's this conflict between Krishna's desire and the cowherd boys' desire. This is from our acharyas. Krishna had a desire. The desire is they should stop. Don't enter the snake's mouth. That was his desire. So does this mean, here you heard this, I mentioned this term, Satya Sankalpa Shakti, here it is on the screen here. Satya Sankalpa Shakti means he has a Shakti by which his Sankalpa or his intention becomes truth or reality, Satya Sankalpa Shakti. So did Satya Sankalpa Shakti go on vacation? Or go to sleep or check out or something, and it just didn't work. It always works. So why in this case he wanted them to not enter, and they entered. How did it happen? And then the answer our acharyas give, Vishwanath gives, the cowherd boys, they had a desire. The devotees had the desire. If we go in the serpent's mouth, will he swallow us? If he swallows us, our friend will kill him as he did Baka. Nothing to worry about. So the cowherd boys have a desire, Krishna has a desire. Who wins? Cowherd boys. Because Krishna subordinates his desire to his devotee's desire. That's his loving nature. That's the nature of love. He's demonstrating love, where one subordinates their desire to another's desire. And they're not keeping score. I surrendered so many times, it's your turn now. There's no scoring. It's just love. The Lord is controlled by his devotee. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This is the arrangement of the ever-watchful Lila Shakti of the Lord, which is to increase the sweetness of the pastimes and destroy all contradictions. So here's some advice for those of you that are reading scripture and sometimes you come across something that's puzzling. A good thing to do if something is really puzzling, step back and go to the topic of rasa, the exchange of the Lord with his devotee, in the mellow of some loving exchange, and you might find the answer, you're likely to find the answer in to the lens of rasa. This is happening by the arrangement of the Supreme Lord's Lila Shakti to facilitate the rasa between the devotee and the Lord, and both sides, the devotee's side and the Lord's side. There's a taste from loving exchange. The devotees like, Krishna likes. And it defies reason, sometimes. Not always, but often. Why? How to understand this? It's puzzling. So carrying on with the next verse, there's Krishna with his arm up, as if, but he didn't say anything, he just got his arm up. Don't do it. Krishna saw the cowherd boys who did not know anyone but him as their Lord has now gone out of his hand and were helpless, having entered like straws into a fire of the abdomen of Aghasura, who was death personified. Big guy. So now Krishna not only became bewildered, but what to do now? It was intolerable for Krishna to be separated from his friends. It was intolerable for them to be separated from him, and vice versa. Therefore, as if, key phrase again, the human likeness of prema, seeing that This had been arranged by his internal potency. Krishna was momentarily struck with wonder and unsure what to do. Now, that's a contradiction, right? The omniscient doesn't know what to do. It's a contradiction. He's all-knowing. How can he not know what to do? He knows what to do, but it's a Lila Shakti arrangement so he can experience an emotion that's human-like out of his love for the cowherd boys. And it's not just, it's not a drama on a stage. And everybody goes off stage and they go about their life. It's the eternal life of the associates in Vrindavan. Vishwanath Chakravarti writes, seeing the boys escape from his hands, Krishna was astonished at the actions of his Lila Shakti. What was the cause of the astonishment? Quote, it is not possible for these cowherd boys to have prarabdha karma, and besides, the super soul does not give them the tendency for karma. Check and double check. From bhakti, even the shadow of bhakti, bhakti abhas, just like chanting, we're all chanting. So there's pure chanting, and there's the shadow of pure chanting. We're familiar with the shadow of pure chanting. We're not so well acquainted with pure chanting yet, most of us. So, the shadow chanting, even shadow bhakti abhas, has the power to destroy prarabdha karma. What's prarabdha karma? Prarabdha karma is that category of karma that's happening now. There's that which is about to fructify, that which is in seed, that which is germinating, and then there's now. So even shadow bhakti abhas, has the power to completely nullify prarabdha karma. So these are pure devotees. These aren't prarabdha karma performers. Abhas bhakti performers. They're Shuddha bhaktas. So it's not possible for prarabdha karma to affect Shuddha bhaktas. Not only that, the super soul, Paramatma, is going to take away even the tendency for karma. So that's not what's going on. So what's going on? Here's his commentary. Because super soul is my expansion, Lila Shakti does not do anything unfavorable to me. Therefore, Lila Shakti has made this seemingly unfavorable arrangement with a desire to put me, full of prema, into the compassionate mood. Karuna rasa. A little lesson from Rupa Goswami's teachings. Many of you know this teaching. There are 5 primary rasas. Neutrality, neutrality, servitor, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. 5. Neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parental affection, conjugal love. 5 primary rasas. Should I do it again? You got it. 5 primary rasas. In addition to the 5 primary, there's, according to Rupa Goswami's teachings, there's 7 secondary rasas, and Karuna rasa is one of the 7. Compassion, Karuna rasa. So, Lila Shakti wants Krishna to experience, in addition to this primary rasa of friendship with the cowherd boys, he wants Krishna to experience Karuna rasa. So Lila Shakti does what Lila Shakti does to facilitate or nourish Krishna's emotions of compassion. It's the pastimes of Krishna, facilitated by Yogamaya to facilitate loving exchanges with devotees in the secondary rasas as well as the primary rasas. That's the science of Bhakti Rasa. How astonishing is her control over me, the form of all rasas, the king of all Lila, Lila Purushottama. He's subjected to the kindness of his own Yogamaya potency or Lila Shakti potency. So there's that same image again. There's the cowherd boys entering the mouth. Now, What was to be done? How could both the killing of the demon and the saving of the devotees be performed simultaneously? You got to Pritranaya Sadhunam plus Vinashaya Traduskatam. How to do them both. Now it's not like one and then the other. They're in his mouth. They're in Death Personified's mouth. The omniscient, all-potent Krishna is contemplating what to do. Being unlimitedly potent, Krishna decided to wait. Hint, sometimes we're faced with a situation, we don't know what to do, we don't know what to do, we don't know what to do. Follow Krishna, be intelligent, and wait for the right indication of the right thing to do. Sometimes you have to act immediately. And sometimes you can act after some careful deliberation. Mode of goodness, introspection, what's the best thing, and then you act when the intelligence is supplied by Supersoul. And he's the source of Supersoul, but he's acting as if human. He's teaching us. It's an important lesson. He decided to wait for an intelligent means by which he could simultaneously save the boys and kill the demon. Then, light went on, he entered the mouth of Aghasura. And when he entered the mouth of Aghasura, Krishna saw the perfect way, a Sheshadrik, to enjoy pastimes and liberate the demon, to protect the devotees and destroy the rascals. He saw the unlimited calves and boys. So he's in the mouth now. He then entered the snake because he was overcome with affection, prema, by seeing their condition. They're in distress, not seeing him. He is called Hari because he would remove their suffering and attract their minds. Both. Hari. To take away. Hari, one who takes away the suffering and the danger that they were in. Now this is a reference from a different scripture. This is a text by Sanatana Goswami. There's a number of people here, and I'm taking a guess that there's some newer people in the audience, and you may not know who is Sanatana Goswami or his book Brihat Bhagavatamrita, so just a little background. There were 6 Goswamis in Vrindavan that were principal associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The eldest was Sanatana Goswami, and his brother Rupa Goswami, and their nephew was Jiva Goswami. So we've heard Jiva and Rupa's name already. Now here's Sanatana Goswami. And the book that he wrote says BB. It stands for Brihat Bhagavatamrita. So many of you know, but some of you may not know. It's a book, it's a commentary on the Bhagavatam that's very interesting. I'll say it again. Very interesting. The whole thing is very interesting. So here's what he writes. I worship the pastimes. This is Narada Muni speaking to a cowherd boy, Gopakumar. I worship the pastimes he performed in the early mornings when he entered the Vrindavan forest with his calves and friends. Most relishable pastimes, such as entering the mouth of the great serpent after pondering various ways. Pastime. It's all a pastime. Lila, enacted by Lila Shakti, and Krishna's enjoying, and the cowherd boys are also enjoying. When Krishna entered the mouth of Aghasura, the demigods, see them up in the sky? The demigods, hidden behind the clouds, exclaimed, "Alas! Alas!" Krishna's entered into the mouth. Oh no! But the friends of Aghasura, like Kamsa and other demons, were jubilant. Now, how'd they know what was going on? Maybe somebody sent them a video live stream depiction of what's going on or something, text message. When Krishna heard the demigods crying, he immediately enlarged himself. He's inside the body of Aghasura, python, huge python. He enlarged himself so big, bigger, and pythons have the ability to make their body bigger. He he became bigger. The python became bigger, and he became bigger, until eventually he suffocated the python. He couldn't breathe. And so the soul of Aghasura left through the soft spot in the top of his head, just like little babies have a little soft spot in the top of their head. Did you know that? Up here is a soft spot. With little babies, it's like the skull isn't fully formed and there's a little soft spot. Humans have. And serpents also have. So boop, the soul left his body through the, that's why you see in the painting, there's the coward boys jumping out of the soft spot in his head. They're entering into the mouth. Nice painting. It's a B.G. Sharma classic painting. The serpent doesn't look so big, its jaw doesn't look so big, but it's a nice painting anyways. And Krishna's observing. And there's another BBT painting, Krishna's observing. The coward boys are just, playing along and waving their sticks and, laughing and having a good time entering into the serpent's mouth. So now we're going into the next phase of the pastime. We're leaving chapter 12 and entering into chapter 13. And tomorrow we're going to hear more on chapter 13. If you're with us tomorrow. If you're not, we're going to do it anyways. Chapter 13 follows chapter 12. And chapter 13 shows what you see on the screen. There's Lord Brahma riding on his swan carrier. You saw the demigods in the sky showering flowers when Krishna killed the Aghasura demon. So he saw the whole thing. And after killing a demon, it's standard. Time for lunch. So Krishna found there's details. Krishna found a nice place by the side of River Jamuna with soft sand, and they all sat down. Of course, Krishna's at the center. Now this painting shows a white figured person, but Balaram wasn't there. Balaram was not there, because it's important that Balaram wasn't there, so he wasn't there. Because something else happened after Lord Brahma saw what happened, and he began thinking in simple language. We'll hear more detail tomorrow. What's the limit of this little boy's power? Is there a limit to this little boy's power? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show him some of my power and see what he does. That was a mistake. You don't match your power against Krishna's power. But he did it. So with his power, by his mystic power, he kidnapped, first the cow, they're by the side of the river Jamuna, the cows were grazing. The cows started wanting to get more grass. The boys were having fun, having lunch. And then they noticed, wait a minute, the calves are gone. And Krishna said, don't worry, you continue with your lunch, I'll go find the calves. Servant of the many. So when Krishna got up to look for the calves, Brahma swooped in, took the cowherd boys. He had already kidnapped the calves, and now he took the cowherd boys and put them both in a cave. And after he put them in a cave, he came back to the scene of the crime, like criminals will do. What's Krishna going to do? His friends are gone, the calves are gone. Is he going to cry? What's he going to do? This is the text from chapter 13, as you see on the left. Now that same Brahma wanted to show some of his own power and see the power of Krishna, like match his power against Krishna's power. Therefore, in Krishna's absence, Brahma took all the boys and calves to another place. He then became entangled, for in the very near future he would see how powerful Krishna was. So there are the cowards, the calves wandering away, Krishna and the cowherd boys having their lunch, and then there's the painting of Lord Brahma putting the calves, it says cows, but it's calves, and the cowherd boys in the cave. And he went back to the scene of the crime. And there is what he saw. He saw there were the cowherd boys having lunch. with Krishna. So he did a double take. Wait a minute. I just put them in the cave. So went back in the cave, and they're in the cave. Went back, and they're having lunch. What's going on? And what's going on, Krishna then for each cowherd boy and each calf, he manifested a form of Narayan. That's a lot of calves, a lot of cowherd boys, a lot of Narayans. And for each one of the forms of Narayan, or Vishnu Murtis, each one was surrounded by the opulences of Narayan. And with the limit of the opulences of Narayan. All the mystic powers, mystic potencies headed by Ajah, the 24 elements of creation, each Narayan form, personified elements of creation, headed by the Mahatattva. Then he saw Kala. You ever see time? You've never seen time. You see the effects of time, where you look at your watch and tick, tick, and tick, tick. That's a measure of time, but have you seen time? He saw time. Kala. Swabhava, samskara, kama, karma, and gunas, their own independence being completely subordinate to the potency of the Lord, had taken forms. And we're also worshipping those Vishnu Murtis, each one. And how many? As many as their cowherd boys. That's a lot of cowherd boys. Thousands of Narayan forms with manifestations of each of these personalities offering prayers. There's a big prayer concert, cacophony of sound. Prayers and prayers and prayers, and it got louder and louder, and like, wow, what's going on? In the Sanskrit, it describes Nija Mahi Mani. He has his own glory. He's not dependent upon anyone else. From him comes everything. And so Brahma wanted to see, what's the limit? No limit. No limit. So he was humbled, to say the least. And just as quickly as all these features appeared, the Narayan forms disappeared, the cowherd boys disappeared. Because the cowherd boys were Krishna's expansions. Poof. Poof. What did Brahma do? He offered his prayers. You saw that nice image. Wonderful section, chapter 14, Brahma's prayers. Wonderful section. And then the pastime ends with this. For 1 year, this was why Balaram was not present. For 1 year, Krishna had manifested himself as each one of the cowherd boys. And there was a reason. Here's the reason. The mothers of the boys had love for their sons, but they wanted Krishna as their son also. But he was already the son of Mother Yashoda. But they wanted Krishna as their son, and Krishna knew it. They didn't put in the petition or something. They just had that desire. So Krishna fulfilled their desire by becoming their son for 1 year. And what mother isn't going to know, this isn't my son? He may look like my son or may even sound like my son, but it's not my son. My mother isn't going to know who their son is. But they didn't know for a whole year. But they felt their affection for their son to be like their affection for Krishna. They were like astonished. Their motherly love went to the spiritual platform. And the calves they were Krishna as calves because the cows wanted Krishna as their calf. So Krishna became their calf for 1 year. The painting is showing one day the cowherd men were herding the cows on the side of Govardhan Hill. When the cows saw the calves with the cowherd boys at the bottom of Govardhan Hill, the cows started running down Govardhan Hill to be with Krishna, their calf. And when cows run, it's really funny. Ever seen a cow run? Really funny. We'll see. But they sometimes can run. Sometimes somebody with noise, and they'll move quickly. Anyway, they ran down Govardhan Hill. The cowherd man wanted to stop stop! Shouting and calling in ways that cowherd men called the cows, but they didn't stop because they were attracted to be with their calf, who was Krishna. And by the time they got to the bottom of the hill, the cowherd men forgot everything because they saw their son. So they went to embrace their son. And Balaram now gets it. Because Balaram was also covered by Yogamaya. Yogamaya prevented Balaram from understanding what's going on. To facilitate the Lila, the loving exchange between Krishna and his devotees. The mothers, the fathers, and the cows. Balaram couldn't understand. Then the Yogamaya curtain started to pull back. Oh. And then Krishna disclosed. And then there's the end of the pastime is, in the end of that 1 year, the boys were, here's the detail. Boys that are 4 years, 4 months, and 1 year, they're going to grow, right? Incrementally, but over a year, they're going to grow. So the cowherd boys that were in the cave for 1 year, they grew. But they were under Yogamaya, they didn't even know 1 year passed. What little boy that's 4 years old is going to fast for 1 year? That's not going to happen. And their bodies grew. But Yogamaya nourished their bodies, and they came out and as if waking up from sleep and, time to go out to herd the cows or the calves with Krishna. That's Yogamaya, facilitating loving exchange with his devotees. So tomorrow, coming attractions. Tomorrow we're going to hear further detail from the very beginning of chapter 13, of Brahma's contemplation about testing his power against Krishna's power to see who wins. Guess who won? Krishna, of course. It's an interesting exchange because this was known by Krishna from the very beginning of the morning that this is going to happen. It's just a Lila, it's a drama that's being enacted by Krishna's Lila Shakti under his orchestration for the love of his devotees and to edify us also of the nature of Krishna's loving dealings. And curves in the road to watch out for, like happened with Lord Indra, pride and interrupting Krishna's pastimes and stealing Krishna's calves and cowherd boys, and things that normally one would not do. And Brahma getting this fully eye-opening, awakening realization that he's not an ordinary person. Brahma's not just a fellow. He knows how to build the universe. He doesn't know just like how to build a TV screen or a Tesla. It's like he's not just technology smart guy. He's a millionaire or a billionaire or something. It's not like that. He knows how to build the universe. From the intelligence given to him by Krishna, so he's not an ordinary fellow. And he's a great devotee. But he did this thing. So Krishna didn't smash him, he just taught him humility by exhibiting what he exhibited. And having Lord Brahma feeling astonished, that's another secondary rasa, astonishment. Mother Soda has that when she looks inside Krishna's mouth. It's a secondary rasa. So Krishna nourishes rasa, primary and secondary. He's doing that with Brahma. And then wonderful prayers, very important prayers. Very important prayers. Let's say the last thing. In the prayers that Brahma gives, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted that one of those prayers, it's in chapter 14, one of Brahma's prayers to Krishna is accepted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the goal of bhakti, the goal of life. So if you want to know what that verse is, come tomorrow. Or you can read in Chaitanya Charitamrita because in the discussions between Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Roy, and he identifies this verse from chapter 14. See you tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki Krishna's Braja Lila ki or Premanandi. Any discussion? The people that are over here, how you couldn't see the screen. There's some nice images, but I see. Okay, let me just interact a little bit with.
Press the button.
Our host and hostess have been kept busy facilitating everybody. They're like the agents of Krishna's Lila Shakti, facilitating the pleasure of the devotees. And they're still doing it. Okay, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much for a wonderful enlightening class.
There's some echo in the sound system. What's going on here? Okay, just speak without it.
So we discussed about the Lila Shakti and the Yoga Maya potency.
Yes.
And you mentioned that Lila Shakti is Yoga Maya. Or how should I understand? Is there any difference between
Yes.
Lila Shakti and Yoga Maya?
Yes.
Or
It's subtle though. I interrupted. Should I answer?
yes,
Yeah. In one sense, they're synonymous. You can use them interchangeably. Lila Shakti, Yogamaya, Lila Shakti. You can use them interchangeably. Rather, if you want to get more very specific, the different terms mean something slightly different. The slight difference is Lila Shakti is derived from Yogamaya. Lila Shakti is the Shakti by which Yogamaya does what Yogamaya does. She's the commander-in-chief and she's got a chief general.
okay, that was my other question. So that I thought the Lila Shakti of the Krishna is the supersedes the Yoga Maya.
No, the other way around. It's just it's synonymous, but I'm taking the language directly from the one who wrote the 7 pages in his book on what is Yogamaya. That's Garuda. It's the derived from, so it's a subset of. Yeah.
Maharaj, is there any form of Lila Shakti? Like Yoga Maya has a form, Durga Devi.
Yeah, there's a form, but I've not seen depictions of that form, but form. Shaktis, all, just like this little description, all Shaktis have form. Their Shakti has form. Shaktiman has form. Shaktiman is an entity, is a thing, entity, but he has form. And the Shaktis also, they're Shaktis, and Shaktis have form. So you want to know what that form is? I don't know what that form is. But there is form. Like, electricity. That's an energy. We haven't seen electricity. We can see the effect. If it's on or off, you can feel the effect. There's electricity. So we have an idea what it is, but we don't see the form of electricity. It's an energy. So that, like Kala, is time, is an energy. Kala Shakti. And time has form. Shaktis have form. So the answer to your question is yes. What that form is, I don't know. I've seen artistic depictions of, but I don't know what that form is.
Thank you.
So we know that in the Srimad Bhagavatam Purnamasi,
Yeah.
Purnamasi is personified, the Yoga Maya personified.
That's right, that's right.
So the question is, Maharaj, when the
Purnamasi is the Yogamaya personified in Braja.
in Braja,
She didn't leave Braja. Then there's Yogamaya outside of Braja also. but Purnamasi is the form. Now, I've seen different depictions of Purnamasi, and what's the form of Purnamasi, back to your question. I've seen different depictions, but it's, it's an artist's conception. There's some description, so an artist can take the description and make a painting that corresponds with their mind's eye of what that description says. But I've seen different artists make different depictions of that description of what Yogamaya's form is, or what Purnamasi's form is. She's a Brahmani, she's old, she has gray hair, etc. The type of dress that she has, and so forth.
I have another question.
Yeah.
That's the Brahma Vimohana Lila, and the Brahma, it's as it's mentioned that Brahma Vimohana, that is bewildered. Brahma
He's
is bewildered.
bewildered, definitely.
So is that the case that when we come to the Lila Shakti Yoga Maya and the Maha Maya, so Indra, when Krishna entered in the mouth of Aghasura, Indra and all the demigods, they also became astonished and became
Yes.
fearful.
But that's different.
Yeah, so is it that Mahamaya is influencing them, or is Mahamaya influenced the Brahma, and then at the same time the Yoga Maya also? So how do we see that?
Depends on your Krishna consciousness how you see it. Brahma is not an ordinary. Indra is more ordinary. He's a devotee. He's an elevated devotee, and Brahma has material desire. And because of his material desire, he becomes more readily bewildered than Lord Brahma. Brahma is not exactly a demigod. He is the source of the demigods, or he manifests, through him the demigods become manifest. So, your question is, how do we see it? Indra becomes influenced by Mahamaya, that's for sure. And is it possible for a devotee to become, yes, when he is proud to the degree that he sends torrents of rain to destroy the cows and Vrindavan and Krishna, that's not Yogamaya. So, in opposition to the Supreme, because of pride. And Krishna wanted to curb his pride, and sure enough he did. Because then Indra, he entered into Yogamaya and fell at Krishna's feet and begged forgiveness, and Krishna of course forgave him. And don't go back to being proud. But the tendency is, so anyway, the tendency is for demigods that are in this stage of mixed bhakti to become proud with their opulence, which is true for anyone that's not pure. You get wealth, or you get influence, any of the 6 opulences that come from piety, the tendency is to become proud. It's easy, 1, 2, 3, unless the protection is purity. Though Brahma is at a much higher level than the demigods, than Indra and others who become proud. And his was more out of curiosity. His intellect was, I want to understand X. Like, what's the limit of Krishna's potency? Is there a limit? So he did what he did to test his power against Krishna's power. And Krishna showed him no limit. So, how do we look at it is your question. In Brahma's case, it's Yogamaya. In Indra's case, it's Mahamaya. Pride.
So the pride, arrogance, ahangar, the fancy,
Yes.
all comes under the Mahamaya.
That's correct. Now, we had, during our time in Gita Nagari, we had this nice discussion about a different kind of pride that arises from prema. Remember the stages of bewilderment?
I was there.
You were there. Okay, so there's different types for those that weren't there. The gopis became proud. Wait a minute. They're Shuddha Bhaktas. They're not rookies. They're Shuddha Bhaktas. They're not like nice devotees. They're pure devotees. So what's this? And it's there are different ways about. We spend a fair amount of time discussing, because it comes twice in that section. The gopis became proud. Then Radharani becomes proud. She isn't mentioned by name, but it's Radharani. Krishna put Radharani on his shoulders, and then then Krishna set her down because she became proud. He didn't just set her down; he just poof, he disappeared. So, what is that? It's different. It's not. It's even beyond Yogamaya. It's prema. It's in the most internal section of loving relationship with Krishna. It's like Krishna becoming bewildered. The gopis becoming proud. It's to facilitate and nourish their intensification of love by that pastime. Anyway, we discussed it. Interesting topics, yeah? Yes, go ahead. The microphone is, the sound system is not so good.
We can use Maharaj.
What?
We can try using. I
We'll
reduce
try
the
it
volume.
again. We'll try it again. If it doesn't work, I'll let you know. Go ahead. Give her the microphone. Not so comfortable sitting there, huh?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Three things.
Three things.
The first, yesterday we just heard this lecture in the morning,
Yeah.
and we talked about Aghasura.
Yeah.
This is more like a sharing. So if I remember correctly, the length of Aghasura is 8 miles,
Okay.
and it's like 1 yojana, something like that.
Okay.
And then, like when I was driving back from Itanagari to New Jersey, I was having fun counting how many Aghasura I need to pass by before reaching New Jersey. And
How many? She's a mathematician.
about 24.5. And the second thing is the Tavamadi verse by Rupa Goswami,
Yeah.
where he addressed Krishna as Aga,
The killer. Yeah.
the killer of Aga. The
Aga.
translation in that particular version is the killer of Aghasura, and you also explained Aga means sin.
Yes.
So I'm thinking the same phrase can be seen as the destroyer of sins,
Yes.
something like that.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I was thinking, I commented this in Gitanagri. Mom and Dad called their son Aga. Oh, Baka, okay. Aga? It's like, one of the soldiers was in Ramayana was Kara. What mom and dad are going to call their son Kara? But that was his name. You know the meaning? Kara means ass. He was a general in Kamsa's army. His name was Kara. Krishna killed him, or Ramchandra killed him. Anyway, go ahead.
And the third thing is Yoga Maya, this topic. And I understood from you yesterday the Satya Sankalpa Shakti is not like a subcategory of the Yoga Maya in this particular
That's
context.
correct.
And I didn't hear the first lecture given by Garuda Prabhu. I'm not sure if he already mentioned this verse in his lecture or in his exchange with you, that there is right in the beginning of the 5th chapter of
Yes,
Rasa
yes.
Dance, there's the very first verse
Yes.
describes the relationship between Krishna
Krishna
and
and-
Yogamaya,
Yes,
and that's quite.
interesting.
Yeah, I think it's also wonderful in a sense
Yes,
because
yes,
if you're saying Yoga Maya Upashitaha,
yes,
and Upashitaha means surrender
yes,
and take shelter. So it's like he has a very special relationship with Yoga Maya.
Yes.
In that way.
yes. Yes. He made, in his book, I don't know if you all caught it. I'll say it again in case you didn't catch what she just said. There's 5 chapters, Canto 10, 5 chapters of Krishna's Rasa Lila. The very first verse, which is like the invocation verse of the whole section, it's announcing Krishna has taken shelter in Yogamaya. Yogamaya Upashrita. The rest is Krishna's in the care of having taken shelter of. He's submitting himself to his own Yogamaya. So she's orchestrating the whole thing. And he's happy because she knows what he wants and she's facilitating what he wants. But he's submitting himself to the loving exchange that is arranged for him by Yogamaya, facilitating his loving exchange with the gopis. Fully surrendered. And she's orchestrating everything. And it's significant. That's mentioned in this book on those 5 chapters, the Rasa Lila, Rasa Mandala chapters. So she's just commenting. But that was something that he made a big point on in the class and in his book. It's important, yeah.
Because Krishna is the shelter of anything else, but now it's a reverse.
Yeah, by his full will, as we just heard. By his will, he's accepting that. And things don't happen except through his will. So he's willing to place himself subordinate to his devotee and to subordinate to his own Yogamaya potency. And that's our lovable object, Krishna. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for wonderful class. So, Yogamaya is expansion of Radharani or Jivatattva? She's not.
She's not.
She's
Is
expansion.
Purnamasi in Braja Lila? Is Purnamasi an expansion of Radharani? No. Purnamasi is the mother of Krishna's guru. She's not part of Radharani's expansions. She has her own tattva.
So, other than Jivatattva, Vishnu Tattva, there are many other.
She's Shakti tattva. She's in that tattva category, but she's not Radha's Shakti.
So even in Shakti Tattva, there are many types
Oh
of
yeah,
Shaktis.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Prasya Shakti, Vividya Vishruyate. Many. And subcategories of the many.
Can
Yeah.
you define Radharani? What form of Shakti she is? Why
Radhini,
always
you know,
the Radha?
Radhini Shakti. So that, you know, I'll say what you already know. And you say, oh yes, I know that. 3. Sandini, Samvit, and Ladini. You know the Ladini. Pleasure potency. So, Satchitananda, glad you know. Satchitananda. So, what manifests eternality is Samvit. Excuse me, not Sandini. Sandini. Then knowledge, Chit. Samvit. Samvit. Samvit, it means to know. Samvit, potency. Samvit Shakti. And Ladini Shakti. 3. Eternality, knowledge, and bliss. So she's the bliss Shakti. The Ladini Shakti, the pleasure potency.
Is Ananda.
She's Ananda. She is Ananda. She's the potency of that.
Because always when we listen any type of bhajna, and it's always said that Radha Rani, she's a Nikunj. Gopis, they are in the Kunj.
Yeah,
Radha ji in Nikunj.
Yeah.
So that is the only one person.
yeah, but she can expand. The one person can expand. As Krishna can expand, not only she can.
So who is supreme, Radha Rani or Krishna?
You want to tug of war?
Yes.
They're together. They're never separate.
They can say.
They're always together. There's a nice easy. There's three easies. Sun and sunshine. Sunshine doesn't exist without sun. The sun doesn't exist without sunshine. So which is more? Which is superior? The sun or the sunshine? We can say the sunshine is resting on the sun, so the sun is greater. But the sun doesn't exist without sunshine. So they're inseparable.
So in the sun and sunshine, who is sun and who is sunshine?
Oh, you know the answer. She's the sun and she's the sunshine. She's the shine. She's the energy of Shakti and Shaktiman. Did you get all this? So far? Pretty good. 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 Anybody else in the room here would like to discuss some topic?
There is a
What's
question
going
from
on? Zoom.
Yes, go ahead, Project.
So I have a doubt, I need some clarification on that. 10th canto, couple of first, second chapter, third chapter, Krishna's birth there.
Krishna's what?
Krishna's birth.
Birth. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, that is understanding. That chapter see that describe that Mahamaya and Yogomaya and the same personality.
Yes. Yes. There's the person and there's the reflection of the person or the same person. That the object and the shadow of an object are the same. You know, from the Bhagavad Gita, the banyan tree with the roots growing up, the branches growing down, is a reflection of the banyan tree that's on the side of the lake. There's the banyan tree that's on the side of the lake, and there's a reflection of the banyan tree in the lake. That is, it's one is the entity and the other the reflection of the entity. So Mahamaya is the reflection of Yogamaya. It's one entity. One is the reflection of, and the other is the object that is reflecting, or being reflected.
Very nicely Mr. Maharaj. That was, I had a doubt, so I just clarified.
Well, just become Krishna conscious and your doubts will go away. How's that for an answer? Just meditate on the teachings of our acharyas, and that you get clarity when there's lack of clarity. And you know, the truth is there, and our little pea brain may not be able to comprehend the truth. That's okay. Stay with it. Continue to chant nicely and serve the Vaishnavas nicely, and gradually your Krishna consciousness will become less covered and more uncovered, and you'll start to understand things that you couldn't understand yesterday. The principles are simple, so keep it simple and stay there, and chant, and become purified, and serve, and hear. Follow the bhakti, the sadhana process, then you reach this sadhya stage, gradually. Okay?
Sure.
Thank you. One more. This is our last question.
Yes, this is last question, yes.
It's going to be a good one.
Yes, it's a good one. So, listening is a, more important than the chanting. Like if you listen, like we are listening, you write
Oh,
down.
this is your other question, just asked in a different way. Who's greater, Krishna or Radha?
Like,
Which is greater, hearing or chanting? Which is greater? They go together.
without hearing, you can't chant. You need a trained
No, but someone else can be chanting and you can be hearing.
Yes.
Hearing.
Yes.
Shabda. Shruti. Shruti Praman. You know, Shruti, that which is heard. I've spoken a little bit about Jiva Goswami. If you want to know in depth, because your question is begging a little more in depth, please. Jiva Goswami makes it very clear. Shruti. And there are different ways of knowing something. And the best way of knowing something is hearing. It doesn't say kirtan or speaking, it's hearing, because then there's different kinds of hearing. And the best is Aparushaya Shabda. Aparushaya is from a human, infallible source. Purusha, we're fallible. And there's Aparushaya, infallible. Aparushaya Shabda is the best. To hear Aparushaya Shabda. Hear Bhagavad Gita, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, hear Bhagavad Katha or Krishna Katha or Hari Katha, and any one of those adjectives. And hear. Maharaj Pariksit got perfection just by hearing. But he heard from Shukadeva Goswami, who heard from Vyas, from hearing. And Vyas heard from Narada by hearing. And then Narada heard from Brahma, who heard from Krishna. It's the hearing.
Just follow on this. Why hearing is more important? Because we have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Numerology, she's a mathematician. See the Prabhupada.
Hari Bol. His Holiness Lord Maharaj ki.